has to be done for the day. So who will read?
I can read if you want.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Is it page 179? It does not follow.
That's right. It does not follow is correct. Page number is different in different editions.
It does not follow that the work is not to be done perfectly with success, with a right adaptation of means to ends. On the contrary, a perfect working is easier to action done tranquilly in yoga than to action done in the blindness of hopes and fears, lamed
Just a
by the
minute.
judgments.
Just a minute. I can't find the text. Can you
The
repeat? Can you
oh,
repeat the page?
page will be either
Sarika,
171
I think your
or
page will be 170. Just check.
that's right.
Okay.
179
Oh,
another edition.
170,
okay.
last 3 lines. Just check.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prachana.
Got it? Harika, you got it?
Got it, Sarika?
Yes. Now I got it.
All right. Yasmin, start reading again.
Okay, it does not follow that the work is not to be done perfectly with success. With a right adaptation of means to ends, on the contrary, a perfect working is easier to action done tranquilly in yoga than to action done in the blindness of hopes and fears, tamed by the judgments of the stumbling of reason, running about amidst the eager trepidations of the hasty human will. Yoga says, the Gita elsewhere is the true skill in works. Yoga, karmasu, kausulam. But all this is done impersonally by the action of a great universal light and power operating through the individual nature. The karma yogin knows that the power given to him will be adapted to the fruit decree, the divine thought behind the work equated with the work he has to do. The will in him, which will not be wish or desire, but an impersonal drive of conscious power directed towards an aim not his own, subtly regulated in its energy and direction by the divine wisdom. The result may be success as the ordinary mind understands it, or it may seem to be that mind to be defeat and failure. But to him it is always the success intended, not by him, but by the all wise manipulator of action and result, because he does not seek for victory, but only for the fulfillment of the divine will and wisdom, which works out its ends through apparent failure as well as, and often with greater force than through apparent triumph. Arjuna, hidden to fight, is assured of victory. But even if certain defeat were before him, he must still fight because that is the present work assigned to him as his immediate share in the great sum of energies by which the divine will is surely accomplished.
Very interesting para. There are quite a few things we have to discuss here. Most of you may be already be familiar with it, but anyway, it's very interesting. So, how is the divine work to be done? We have been told repeatedly that it has to be done without nishkama karma, without any desire for success in the work. Now, if you don't want success in the work, then disinterestedness, then are you likely to not take too much interest in the work and just do it mechanically? That's the question being discussed. Okay. So, disinterestedness does not mean you don't take interest. You take interest, but you don't think of the result. You don't think of the success. Okay. You just do the work that has to be done as well as you can. Okay, that's very difficult because normally when we do a work, we want 100%. We want a success. So we go even sometimes in details to see that the work is done well. So when you have a desire, the likelihood of your doing the work with great care is there. But when you don't want when you are not interested in the desire, or rather not thinking of the effect, the result of the work, then there is likely to be a laxity in the effort. So that is being discussed. Okay, so it does not follow. You have to do the work calmly, quietly, without expecting a result. Nishkama karma. Okay? The fruits of your action don't belong to you, says the Gita. It belongs to the divine. So, it does not follow that the work is not to be done perfectly with success, okay, with the right adaptation of means to ends. On the contrary, a perfect working is easier to action done tranquilly in yoga than to action done in the blindness of hopes and fears, lamed by the judgments of the stumbling reason, running about amid the eager trepidations of the hasty human will. Yoga, says the Gita elsewhere, is a true skill in works. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is in works, it is skillfulness. Now, this is very interesting because somebody asked Mother, what does it mean disinterested work? Okay. Does it mean that we don't take interest in the work? So Mother answered, you have to take interest in the work disinterestedly. So in other words, you have to take interest in the work, but the idea is that you must not expect a result. Do it as best as you can, and if you normally fail, you are disappointed. And when you succeed, you are happy. But the disappointment and the happiness should not be there. Because the result goes to the divine and not to you. That's the whole idea. Okay, so the perfect working is easier to action done tranquilly in yoga than to action done in blindness. It's very obvious, even to those who are doing even ordinary work. When you are concentrating fully with a calm mind, a mind which is not bothered by success or failure, or you are worried about other things, then actually your work will be well done. Okay? You hope that the work will succeed, or you fear that you will fail. This is what happens with students. Okay, when they have to give an examination, that's why there is so much of tension for students. They are always fearful that they may not be able to do it well. Okay? So you do it calmly, quietly, without any thinking too much of the results. Lamed by the judgment of the stumbling reason. Even the reason will tell you, oh, don't do this, oh, don't do that, do it this way, do it that way. All this is lame, so they say. It is only half, it's not the full, your effort will be lame, okay, it will be imperfect. Running about amid the eager trepidations of the hasty human will. Eager trepidation, you're interested, oh, this work I'll do. So that sort of thing should not be there. Yoga, says the Gita elsewhere, is a true skill in works. Yoga karmasu kaushala. This is from chapter 2, verse 50. Okay? But all this is done impersonally by the action of a great universal light and power operating through the individual nature. Now, because he has already told you that all the work that your body, mind, life is doing, you are not doing at all. It is nature which is doing, using your instrumentation of body, vital and mind. So the result also should go to nature and not to you. And nature means again the divine who works through nature. So this is exactly what you have to understand. But all this is being done, this is done impersonally by the action of a great universal light and power operating through the individual nature. The great universal light and power is nature, universal nature, who is manipulating your body, your vital and your mind. Okay, so you are doing nothing at all. You don't know that. When you have an ego, you think that you are doing. The karma yogin, the one who does the work without any, without asking for the fruit of the works, nishkama karma. And the karma yogin knows that the power given to him will be adapted to the fruit decreed. He knows that the work that he is doing will be either perfect or imperfect according to the capacity that he has, the capacity that has been given to him in his birth, to the body, mind, life. It can't be more than that or less than that. Knows that the power given to him will be adapted to the fruit decreed. The divine thought behind the work equated with the work he has to do. The will in him, which will not be wish or desire. Wish or desire is expecting a result. But without expecting a result, your will do the work as best as you can. Knowing fully well that you are not doing it, you are only an instrument, and nature is doing the work through you. Okay? But the impersonal drive of a conscious power directed towards an aim, not his own. So, universal nature is using you as an instrument and doing what she needs to be done through you, and the aim is hers, not yours. Okay? So, although you may think that I'm doing and I want the aim, I want the result, and it is my aim to do this, actually it is the nature's aim, doing it through you. Okay? So that's an interesting part. The aim is not yours. The aim is nature's in a very wider sense. Subtly regulated in its energy and direction by the divine wisdom. The divine wisdom is working through nature in a very subtle way. And you think that you are doing it in a very gross way. Okay? The grosses of consciousness thinks that I am doing. Actually, it's not you doing at all. So, okay. The result now, he comes to the result. Now, this is very interesting also. Okay? The result, whether you're going to succeed or not, because you're not trying for success nor failure. You're just doing it as perfectly as you can. Okay. The result may be success as the ordinary mind understands it. Okay. As the ordinary mind understands it. Okay. I think they put a comma there which should not be there. I think it's a mistake. As the ordinary mind, why should a comma be there after ordinary? All of you may not have. I would like to check this because it's an error. Archanaji, you have CWSA? Okay, who has CWSA? Any one of you?
I have Rangada.
Okay. Okay, if you have CWSA, tell me, is there a comma after ordinary?
Let me check.
Rangada, in my book also it is not there. I have the VAC addition.
So they have corrected that mistake. Obviously.
Yeah.
As an ordinary mind, it's one. Why should there be a comma there? It's a mistake.
No, there is. I have the VAC addition, which actually follows the SABCL. So you have the SABCL, na Rangada?
Yeah, I have old SABCL. So, and I have a comma after ordinary.
That must be a misprint or something because it is not there in the VAC edition.
Exactly.
Which is usually similar to the SABCL.
Yeah,
it is,
so they have corrected it. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Mine also I am having comma after ordinary.
Yeah, okay. So
Not in mine.
Okay. That is you have the CWSA. So what you're saying is that nature is doing the work in a very subtle way from behind, and you think that you are doing it. It's okay. Sometimes, when you're driving, you are the driver, and there are people who sit at the back on the back seat and go on telling you, don't do this, don't do that. It's called back seat driving. And the driver gets very annoyed. It's quite a feature. Sometimes it happens. So nature is sitting in the back seat and actually telling you what to do and what not to do. And you think that you are driving. But in this case, okay, really nature is driving through you. It's an interesting way of looking at it. The result may be success as the ordinary mind understands it. Why? Because the success may be a failure, and that failure is a success for that particular time and for that particular work. That's interesting, and that's exactly what we are going to discuss. Can a failure be intended, and can it be considered a success? Okay, just take a very simple thing. Take the effort to go into space. Okay, I like to use this because you start sending a rocket up and it fails and falls down. That's what happened to India when they sent up a rocket first from Trivandrum. Okay, it went up to 60 miles and fell down because we have not followed all the rules and we don't know the techniques of how to do it. So the failure is really a success because now you know what you should not do. This is exactly the same thing as the error. Every error leads you to more towards a right way to do it. So all failures are not failures at all. They are success at that level. Okay? So every error, and that's why Swami was saying, error is the handmaiden of truth. Error is the one that guides you to the right path. So you must not think of it as an error. Okay? The biggest error, for instance, for us would be the transformation of the body, which Mother did not complete. So was there a failure on her part? Absolutely not. Because at that level, the world conditions were not ready, and what she has done was possible under the world conditions. And that's why it's very interesting. There were many sadhaks who were very upset when Mother passed away. They said, my God, she has not transformed her body. She said she would transform her body. But actually what happened was, Murlidhar, who is such a realist, spiritual realist, okay, he said the work of transformation has been postponed. Now, this is exactly what is being discussed here. Okay, so every postponement is one step towards the right thing. So what Mother has done, the transformation of the body has been done right up to the subtle body. Okay, this is discussed in many books elsewhere, but that's what she did. But the last step could not be taken because of the world conditions. They were not ready yet. Okay, every work depends on the amount of knowledge that you have at that particular time and the conditions. The best example I can always think of is Leonardo da Vinci even had the idea of heavier than air flight. No? But it did not take place for 400 years. It's only after 400 years that flying with a heavier than air machine was successful. Okay? So it is one step towards that. So before that, all were failures. Okay? Remember also the famous example of the one who invented that bulb. Okay? Thomas Alva Edison. 250 times he failed. And yet he went on because each failure showed him what to do, what the right thing to do. So failure is not really failure. It's a step on the way. And so you should not be depressed. You should not be disappointed. That's the whole idea. That's what he's saying here. An idea of failure and success is a very mental idea. If you go beyond the mind, you will see that even every failure is really a success at that particular time and on that occasion. That's the interesting thing that we have to understand. Okay, so the result may be success as the ordinary mind understands it, or it may seem to that mind to be defeat and failure. Look at the language, very clear. Okay? To the ordinary mind, a defeat may seem to be defeat and failure. But to him, it is always the success intended, not by him, but by the all-wise manipulator of action and result. Who is the all-wise manipulator of action and result? The master of works. As Srimdu uses this word again and again. The master of works. He works through the nature, which is his deputy in the physical world, and he does the work through nature, does it through the individual. It's a three-way thing. The master of works has an intention, and he deputes a mission to nature, and nature executes it through the individual. So this is what is saying. So ends, which works out its ends through apparent failure as well as often with greater force than through apparent triumph. Now that's very interesting, because if you have apparent triumph, then you don't look for other things. Second time you will fail. Okay? Then you wonder, hey, I succeeded first time, why I'm not succeeding second time? So you have not looked at it very carefully. So this, what they're saying is very interesting. They're saying apparent failure is often a greater force than apparent triumph. Because when you have gone through the grind and you know all the defects, your knowledge of it is perfect. But sudden triumph and sudden success, you don't know all the laws and all the rules and what is to be done and what is not to be done. So this is very interesting what he's saying. Note also interestingly the Srimbo's failure in the IAS test. Okay, it is intended, because just imagine what would have happened if he had passed. He would be in the British service. So it was intended to fail. Okay? So that's an interesting thing. There is also very interesting in Thoughts and Aphorisms, where he says that failure he understood to be a blessing. Okay? That's exactly what happened in Srimbo's case also. His failure in the IAS was a blessing. Okay, so.
Ranganath,
Yes.
seeing success in failure is quite more easier than seeing failure in success.
I don't think
Like,
I followed exactly what you said.
Examples, I want, could you give some examples where it is actually, we feel it is success, but it is actually a failure?
Oh, acha.
The other way around.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I can tell you with my own experience of my computer, my knowledge of computers is all very, very, very weak, because I did not go through the grind like children go through nowadays. So if I'm trying something, suddenly it comes. Okay, but I don't know how it has come. Okay, because I have not followed all the right steps. I have unconsciously it has succeeded. So a quick success sometimes depends on the circumstances. I don't know if I can give you a very good example, but you can see that if work is being done suddenly by chance, it may lead to success. Okay, and then it happened very often with me. I think that I have understood, and next time again it doesn't come. So I wonder what happened, because you must know all the steps. Okay, and all the steps that have to be taken to get the right result. Okay? But you've not done that. You had asked an interesting question. The failure is intended, that is easy to understand. But how a success did not be a success is you have to imagine. I think what I can say, without giving an example, that the conditions were such that you succeeded. Okay. I don't know. I'll try and think of an example.
Okay, we can discuss, because see, failure turning into success is so many examples. It just struck me that he's saying that that has a greater force and apparent triumph. So,
Yes.
and often, success gives us so much joy that we never can think that it is actually a failure. So that was a interesting nuance that struck me. That's why I thought
That's
of
right.
discussing.
It can happen in even in medicine.
Maybe, yeah, maybe Ranganath, that the examples, the way you put it, like often success, we get a success, but we really don't know all the nuances of how we got the success out of the processes. But if we fail, we have to go again to the bottom, again start, like Sherwin writing Savitri 50 times. He could have first, because he did it consciously, he could have said that first time it is success or 10th time it is successful, but he told no, I have to go through it. But normally human beings don't do that. Once we are successful, once I have passed my 7th class exam, I will never open the 7th class book to see what is there or not.
Yes, exactly.
But maybe if I had failed, I'd have gone through it more thoroughly and all that.
That's
So
right.
this was I just found the nuance very interesting. That's why I thought of discussing.
Yes, that's right. That's why Shivna is using the word ordinary mind. The ordinary mind does not. Yes, tell me.
Here, I think Sri Aurobindo has written this that everything is apparent. Maybe that failure, but maybe that triumph, but everything is apparently. But essentially, everything, that failure and that triumph, essentially, they are the divine movement only, divine work, divine step. Isn't it, Dada?
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that our idea of success and failure is only apparent. It's a mistaken thing. Okay. You can say that. It is only, we are looking only at the surface, and that you can say that in that sense. The actually success and in fact, for the divine, there is no failure at all. Everything is intended. A very difficult work has to be done in 10 stages. Just as I said, like the going into space. You have to do many, many times and fail. And every time you fail, you get one little piece of knowledge extra, which will help you the next time. That's exactly the thing. Now,
Ranganath, generally, 1 minute.
yes, go ahead.
Generally, yes, it is true that he's saying that apparent, but I think that nuance, that why he is saying that success can be failure and failure can be success, to understand that also deeply makes the thing more rich and more vast. That's why I think I try to understand each word, each phrase. That's all.
Yes.
Generally, of course, that's what he means, that everything is apparent. No?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's right. So, very interesting discussion. What is failure and what is? I can tell you another very interesting thing also. Somebody had given an exam. He was an ashram student, and he had given an exam for a job. Okay, but there was in his mind a doubt whether he should stay on in the ashram or whether he should go for the job. Okay, but then the interview was given and all that, and then a telegram came, and he got the post office told him that the telegram has come for your journey. Come and collect it. So while this person is going, okay, he is actually praying for a failure. Actually praying for a failure because he doesn't want to leave. There was a doubt in the mind, and he had given that in a particular frame of mind. He had given the interview, but he was actually, when the telegram came, he is saying, let the telegram say that I have failed. So this is a very good example of how our ideas of what is failure and what is success is so relative. That's exactly what Shanti is saying. Okay, so anyway, now we read the last sentence of the para. Arjuna, willing to fight, is assured of victory. But even if certain defeat were before him, he must still fight, because that is the present work assigned to him as his immediate share in the great sum of energies by which the divine will is surely accomplished. Another interesting thought came into my mind. Okay, Bhishma, okay, in the Mahabharata, Bhishma is siding with the Kauravas, but he knows fully well that he will fail. The Kauravas will be defeated, and yet he sides with them. Okay, knowing fully well that they will be defeated. All his sympathies are with the Pandavas. Okay, so all this idea of failure and defeat, you have to continue to do what you have to do. That's all, without any presumption of failure and defeat. That's the whole idea. So when you are absolutely calm and quiet, and you do what you're being told you to do, you do it. Okay? That's right. In fact, another example I can give you, very interesting example. Okay? So, when the Cripps mission came in 1942 to India, saying that we will give you dominion status, okay, and the Congress party rejected it. Sri sent someone to talk it over with the government of India, Nehru and Gandhi and all the others, Vallabhbhai Patel, and he sent Dorasamy Iyengar. Okay, Dorasamy Iyengar was a wonderful man, and his past lives also, he was a king in France and all. So Dorsami Iyengar went and spoke to them. And when he came back, he told them, oh, they are not accepting. Okay, they don't want. In fact, Gandhi said the CRIPS mission offer of dominion status is like a crash, is like a post-dated check on a crashing bank. You know that the check is worthless because bank is crashing. You already know it. That was the condition of the in the Second World War when the British were, even if they won, the colonialism would end. So that was not at all an offer which they were accepted. But Sriramdu, when he told that, sir, their mission has failed. So Sriramdu said, I knew that it would fail. So when he was asked, then why did you send? His answer was very simple. Nishkama karma. So he did what he knew that is going to fail, but he still did it. He took all the trouble to send Iyengar, okay, Darisam Iyengar, to discuss it. And now in today's, in history today, we know that if he had accepted, it's very well known now, everybody knows it, that if he had accepted the constitution, there would have been no partition at all. So it is a pointer to what is success and what is failure. Even a failure, if they had accepted that at that time, okay, it would have led to totally different situation. So why was it necessary? That's another issue altogether. But then India had to go through the difficulty of this, the Muslim-Hindu divide. So now it's a different situation altogether. Now all the Pakistanis and all that, they want to come back to India. Okay, many of them. And we have to see how it devolves, how it develops. But partition is bound to go, that is sure. So it's very interesting example also of how failure is intended and yet you do the work. That's exactly what Sadhu is saying here. Arjuna, bidden to fight, is assured of victory. But even if certain defeat were before him, he must still fight because that is the present work assigned to him as his immediate share in the great sum of energies by which the divine will is surely accomplished. Okay, so we have got 7 minutes. I don't know if we can, maybe we can just read the next one. Okay, so anyone, if you can read? Yes, we read the first one. Okay, okay, go ahead. Read quickly because we have got very little time.
Okay.
The liberated man.
The liberated man has no personal hopes. He doesn't seize on things as his personal possessions. He receives what the divine will brings him, covets nothing, is jealous of none. What comes to him he takes without repulsion and without attachment. What goes from him he allows to depart into the will of things without repining or grief or sense of loss. His heart and self are under perfect control. They are free from reaction and passion. They make no turbulent response to the touches of outward things. His action is indeed a purely physical action. Shariram kevalam karma. For all else comes from above, is not generated on the human plane, is only a reflection of the will, knowledge, joy of the divine Purushottama. Therefore, he doesn't buy a trace on doing and its objects bring about in his mind and heart any of those reactions which we call passion and sin. For sin consists not at all in the outward deed, but in an impure reaction of the personal will, mind, and heart, which accompanies it or causes it. The impersonal, the spiritual is always pure, apapa vidham, and gives to all that it does its own inalienable purity. This spiritual personality is a third sign of the divine worker. All human souls, indeed, who have attained to a certain greatness and largeness are conscious of an impersonal force or law or will and knowledge working through them. But they are not free from egoistic reactions, sometimes violent enough of their human personality. But this freedom of the liberated soul has attained, for he has cast his personality into the impersonal, where it is no longer his, but is taken up by the divine person, the Purushottama, who uses all finite qualities infinitely and freely and is bound by none. He has become a soul and ceased to be a sum of natural qualities, and such appearance of personality as remains for the operations of nature is something unbound, large, flexible, universal. It is a free mold for the infinite. It is a living mask of the Purushottama.
It's a very interesting para, as all paras are in Singapore, and we will read that next time because we have very little time left. So I will just do one thing. I made a note here of what the divine workers' qualities should be, and we'll take it up next time. The liberated man has no personal roles. Okay, I will take it up next time. So I'm reading out to you what the qualities of the divine worker should be. I've just taken the whole thing from there and written it down here. Because Sembro does not make a list like that. What he does is he goes on, he tells you absence of egoism is one, and then he discusses it. And then he goes to the next one and discusses it. So he does not list everything right at the beginning to discuss it. That's his style. So the divine workers should have absence of egoism of doer. This is number one. Second, absence of desire, absence of aim, target. This is number two. Then third, presence of spiritual impersonal action. His action should be impersonal, not related to any person or any aim or any very limited motive. Fourth, perfect samatha, equality. Then finally, Trigunatita, beyond the three modes of nature. And now I tell you, the first one is on page 170, the third one is on page 172, and the third one is on page 177. So we are like to miss all the points, and that's why sometimes you have to do this. Go back to and list all the things that you said. So it is spread over 7 pages, all these things. So we're likely to miss the focus. Okay, that's the interesting part. Okay, so we'll take it up next time. This one. The liberated man has no personal goals. Okay, so it was a very interesting discussion, and any of you can get the idea that Archanaji was saying to give examples of a quick success is often a failure actually. So if you can think of some examples, it'll be very interesting. Okay, so okay, shall we stop here today?
Thank you, Rangada.
Okay. Good work, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, very interesting discussion today.